What's up, guys? We are back in the shop. It's the next day. All of our new watchers, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you have not seen any of this, you can go back and check out our build this far. It's a complete frame off. Yesterday we got all the firewall and the dash all done, and now we're ready to move on to the body. So today we're going to roll in the frame, get the body lifted up the rest of the way, and go ahead and bolt down the frame and get it all taken care of, and then we can move on to the quarter panels and all that stuff. So let's go check it out. All right, guys, check this stuff out. I love that look. It's different. It's like an eggshell look. It's fully dry and done now. We're gonna go ahead and lift the car up with the lift, and then we'll roll in our frame here. We'll set you guys up on the tripod, and the way these frames are made, and the way you gotta lift these, we'll have to kind of brace it, move our arms, and then on the lift, and then resituate it to set it all the way down on the frame. But we will get there. I'm gonna go ahead and set you guys up. Here we go. All right, guys, we've got it down here. I'll show you kind of how we had to do it so we could move the arms. Just kind of set it on the blocks there, and then we moved our arms out from the mounting posts in there. Let's put them out here on this outside edge. We'll go ahead and pull this body on up, pick it back on up, get it off the blocks, and then slide our bushings in. And this thing's about ready to bolt down. Super excited stuff, yeah. This is, it's been a long time coming. This thing's been apart over a year. Sweet stuff. All right, guys. All right, guys, the arms are moved. We're ready to go down. All the bushings are in place. You guys can see, take one last good look at it before we pop it on down there. Look how sexy that looks. Like a brand new one. All right, guys, we'll set you up on this pod again, and we'll lower it on down. All right, guys, the body is on the frame. We went ahead and threw the doors on real quick so we could get a real good look at it. This thing looks sweet. We just lowered it right on down there. Everything went into place. We didn't snug it up or anything. Everything's just loose. Just in case we got to take this body back up. Don't want to have to fight it. But these doors, check out these door gaps. Sweet. I don't have a whole lot of work to do here. A little bit, not a lot. We're gonna make those show car perfect gaps. Show you guys how we do that. A little bit of work to do on these quarters. I just roughed everything in when I did all the work before. So now I'll go back with guide coats and all that stuff and actually make sure everything's 100% perfect and straight. You don't want something this big of a job, this big of a quarter panel coming out looking crappy. You want to make sure it's nice and straight. So I'm going to go ahead and strip these doors apart, pull the door panels off the inside, pull the handles off, the trim, mirrors, tops, and then give them a real good sanding. There ain't really any rust on these, just a little surface rust here and there. So we're gonna, strip them off, strip the paint off, and then we'll be back here shortly. All right, I got the doors all stripped. I had It didn't take me too long. I had a helper come over and help me out. On these doors, now I'm going to go ahead and sand them and get them, you know, really, really close to where they need to be. I just wanted to show you guys. I get a lot of hate in the comments about why aren't you sandblasting? Why aren't you, you know, stripping it down? Blah blah blah. You know, honestly, you don't have to. I'm showing you guys how to do this. How the average Joe can do this. As long as you give this a good sanding, and you get all the rust out, and that's the key. All the rust. Whether you got to cut a piece out small and get it out, or you have to, you know, cut out a large quarter panel like I did. As long as all the rust's out, we're good. And also, these little spots of rust right here, a lot of people will run from. You know, oh my gosh, it's, you know, that's just surface rust. When I hit that there was another one right here. You know, I still got to hit it just a little bit more. But as soon as I hit that with a DA with some 36 grit, that stuff just blows right off of there. Don't be worried about that stuff. You don't have to go get your whole thing sandblasted or media blasted just for that. Sand it with some good 36, 40 grit. You know, if you got a real bad spot, you can hit it with your big grinder or your, you know, 3-inch grinder with a 36 grit roll lock. And, you know, that'll really knock those rust spots off. That's all you got to do. Sand this down, and I'll show you. A lot of people thought earlier that this was rust. This is not rust. This is factory primer. Somebody had mentioned that they thought I primed over a spot that had that on there, and that's what that is. That's factory primer, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can see here there was some rust through here, so I went ahead and took that down to bare metal all the way, you know, and it feathered out just fine. The rust is gone. So now I'll just keep doing that this whole door, working it with that DA and the 36 grit. And once I get this whole side done, you know, then it'll be basically ready for 2K primer. You don't have to do anything else to it. As long as you got all the rust, it's fine. If you miss a little bit of paint, you got some paint left behind, it's fine. You don't have to take it all the way down to bare metal. A lot of people think you have to. No, you get the flaky stuff off that's peeling, chipping, flaking. Get all the rust out. Anything you see. If when you hit it with the DA, if it takes you forever to get it off, it's probably not going to flake off later. I mean, I've got cars out that I've done 10 years ago that have, you know, they're still winning shows, and I've got trophies and stuff to prove it. I'm not bragging or anything. I'm just trying to tell you guys how the average Joe can do this. It's not that hard. You can make almost every patch panel by hand with tools, with just regular tools and a bench vise. I'm going to go ahead and that's enough ranting, but I'm going to go ahead and get back to sanding on this and get this door completely ready, because this door over here is going to need a little bit more work, which all these spots on the other side that somebody had done, they all sanded out. So I'm not worried about that, but I think it just looks a little bit rougher. A couple little dings in it. That other door over there, there ain't a single ding or hardly anything in it. It's straight as can be. It really amazed me. You can see some of the rust here too, but that stuff will come completely off. So things I will sandblast though are the hinges. You know, obviously you can't really sand that stuff, so I'll throw those in the blaster, sandblast them all, prime them, and paint them to match. But enough of that. I'll go ahead and set this thing up on the tripod, and you guys can watch me sand the rest of this for a little bit. All right, guys, I went ahead and got the whole door sanded. It's pretty much down, you know, where it needs to be. We can go ahead and 2K prime over this. One thing I did do, as you guys probably noticed, was I did have to sandblast some. I have a mini little handheld speed blaster, and that's just so, like I said, you have to have all that rust out, all of it. If there's any oxidized, orangish looking rust, it's got to be gone. So you just take that speed blaster, you know, that's the poor man's way of sandblasting stuff, and you hit those spots like I did that one and that one, and if you just sit there and hit it, run over it a few times, all that stuff will be gone and it'll be clean bare metal, and that's what you need. And then from there we can, you know, prime it and body work it. And since these are just very, very teeny tiny spots and they're under this rail, nothing has to be cut out or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and get my helper out here and adjust these doors just a little bit, straighten up these gaps, and get it just a little bit closer. And then once I do that, then I'll show you guys how we you know, fill them all, and then you know, cut it out and make a, you know, a nice clean door jamb that's perfect, you know, the perfect thickness, whatever you're going for. Different vehicles are different thicknesses, you know, but we will get to that here in a few minutes. All right, we got the doors all adjusted. All I did was loosen them up. I didn't take anything out, just loosened all the bolts up and tapped them with a hammer, the hinges, and tapped them back slightly until I got the gap here a little bit closer to where I want it. And then I went ahead and tightened them back up. And when I'm setting a door, I always make sure before I tighten it up, I've got the door raised up just slightly above the quarter, you know, or just above the body line. Just pick a body line and then tighten it up and then let it come back down, because it'll sag a little bit, and you usually should be pretty close to dead on. And I went ahead and put the latch on in there, and it's all adjusted and exactly where it needs to be. The door's flush for the most part everywhere. So this is about as close as we can get it. So everything else from here is going to have to be done with fill. So I guess that's going to be what we're going to get into next. I'm going to go ahead and flush these panels out, and by that what I mean is these, when you look, you know, everything's lined up everywhere for the most part, especially, you know, down here. But a lot of these, you know, these panels, if you look, they're not exactly the same because they're new panels, and you'll have this on these cars, especially these you know, these big quarter panels and stuff. They're not always going to be 100% identical. So then you'll come in and you'll, you know, basically level these two panels up with body filler. We'll use our fiberglass filler, and you don't really want any filler on the door, so you kind of want to adjust your door to where, you know, most of your fill is going to be on your quarter panel. So you don't want to have any filler on the edges of your door, and, you know, very little on your door if you can. But we'll go ahead and fill this up here, and then from there, this is a big gigantic quarter panel, and I hate this, but you know, we'll have to fill that up to meet this, because all of our adjustments done and our door is where it's going to be. So we can go ahead and fill this, and we'll have to match that all the way down through that long quarter panel. So that's when we'll come in. We'll just throw a skim coat, you know, we'll thin our filler out kind of thin, and we'll throw a skim coat on it, and then you know, block that out, and we'll be fine. I'll show you guys how to do that, but for now we're going to focus on getting this all flushed out here, and then we'll worry about making it match, you know, and be nice and straight everywhere else from there. So after we flush it out, then we'll work on setting that 1/8 inch gap all the way around this door. I like mine just a little bit thick, little bit more than an 1/8 inch, you know, because you're painting, primer and paint and all that stuff. to give it a little bit of room. So, but about an 1/8 inch once it's painted is where I like it. So, anyway, we will go ahead and set you guys up on a tripod, and I'll mix up some filler and go ahead and get it on there. All right, before we put you on that tripod, I want to show you what I'm using. We use fiberglass filler anytime we're doing any type of sculpting or anything like this, trying to flush up panels, because you are using, you are going to have a little bit of filler there. So you wanted to make sure it's good, strong stuff, and it's going to last. So I'm going to go ahead and I went ahead and thinned it out just a little bit with some resin. You can do that. I don't know if a lot of you guys know that, but I just thinned it out a little bit to help it flow, because this stuff's really it's really solid. It's tough stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and finish mixing this up here, and we will go ahead and start throwing it on there. Here we go. All right, we've got it all filled. Everything's flushed out. As you guys can tell, there's not, there wasn't a lot of filler needed to do this. We pretty much, me and my helper pretty much got it flush all the way around. So that's kind of why there's not really any filler there. You just see me skim across it. Here, there's just a little bit right there, just a little. And then from there up, it was a little bit thicker, but no big deal. A lot of that's going to get sanded off, so don't sweat. But, we'll take our block and we'll sand all the way across that, and we'll smooth that out, and then we'll know from there that's our high point. We'll skim coat on back and make this flow into that so you don't see it. But this is how it's done. So I went ahead and done a little section here, though. We know that we'll never have filler on our door or on the edge of your door, because it'll just bust off. So your filler, you'll always want your filler over here when you're setting your gaps. But right now, obviously you can't leave filler in your gap here. So just take your knife, your razor blade, and run it right along the inside edge, and use the edge of your door as your guide, and run it down all the way around, and make sure you cut that gap back out down through there. And then you'll be able to open your door again, and then we'll go and grind that extra stuff off that fell through. I've got the razor blade here. It's just it don't take much pressure. Just keep it. Do this when this stuff's about, obviously most of the way set up. Just a little bit pliable. On down through there. You just tilt your knife up there so you make sure you're staying on the door edge and not on your body. All right, and that's it. Just like that. Now we'll go and open that up and grind that off, or get that stuff off of there. So, but now we know this door's flush, or now we know what to do. So we'll fill out from here and make sure the whole side's flush. All right, guys, I went ahead and finished trimming that. All I did was open the door, put my knife on the inside edge of this side, cut all that out. And the reason I did that is we're not working on the door gap right now. We're working on trying to get everything flushed up. how we want it, okay? We want these two panels to be flush all the way around, just like a show car. You go to a show, you wonder how they get these door panels perfectly 100% flush and gapped 100% every time. This is how they do it. Not all this stuff fits 100%. All this stuff, you know, this is old, tweaked, you know, who knows what this stuff's been through, but this is how they get it 100% tried and true right here. I'll go ahead and finish letting this tack up or dry up a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and take my block and some, actually I'll just use a DA and some 36 grit, and I'll just rough that up, and then from there I got to sand the rest of the quarter and flow that on out. And the same thing on the door. Anywhere I got filler, I got to flow that out. You don't want to see, if you just leave this right here how I done it, you know, it don't look that bad, obviously. But if you just go, you know, square that up, prime it, you're going to see big humps and waves in it when you start looking down the side of this. You don't want that. So this is where we'll rough this up, and then we'll flow this out with body fill all the way on out into the quarter a little bit, and then we'll come back in and block all that stuff out, and that'll make sure we got nice, straight, beautiful body lines, gaps, and flushness. So I'll go ahead and put you guys back up on this tripod and get to sanding. Alright guys, I went ahead and just knocked off the, you know, the sticky layer, the outside layer of this stuff. You can see everything's nice and flush. Now from here, like I said, we'll have to mix up more, and we'll have to flow this on out. We'll thin it out a little bit more with our resin so it'll flow a little easier, but we'll flow this stuff on out, you know, we'll do each section here. We'll tape it up, do each section. That way we don't lose our lines, our body lines that we're going after, you know. But we'll finish this up here, do this section, then this section, and then this section up here. And we'll flow that stuff out. So that way, when you look down the side of this car, all the way down the side of it, you don't see anything but straightness. You guys can see now it's pretty straight. So we want to keep it that way. We want, you know, we want the door to flow right into the quarter, and the body lines to match up when you shut. We want everything to be nice and straight when you look down through there. So that's what we're aiming for, and this is how we're going to get it done. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, mix up some more filler like I said, and then I'll flow this on out. All right, I came in here and I went ahead and mixed up some more filler, the fiberglass filler, and I just thinned it out a little bit, and then I went ahead and spread it out down, you know, try to build this up just slightly. Now most of this stuff comes off, so don't trip. You know, this stuff all has to be sanded and, you know, blocked and everything. So there's definitely a lot extra on here, but that's just the way I like to do it. I don't like to have to keep adding later. That causes, if you got a low spot in it here, okay, and then you're sanded and you got a low spot there and you go put filler there, and then you go try to block that out, then you're going to have a low spot on each side. So it's easiest just to put a ton on, or, you know, plenty on, and then block it and get the shape you need and be done with it. But as you can see, I smoothed that out a little bit. And if you look down through here now, you can see my quarter panels, my door, everything completely lines up 100% when it's shut. Everything looks straight. It don't look, you know, when you're looking down the car, it flows, okay? That's what you're going for. You want the doors to flow right into the quarters, and then you want all your gaps to be fine. So this is how you, you know, flush up your panels, and then the only thing I will do from here is finish, sanding my edges in here, and then finish blocking this out. And then this will be ready for primer other than our gaps. And we'll get into the gaps here in just a minute. All right, guys, I went ahead and buzzed that off there real quick with our air file and some 80 grit after I knocked it down initially with the 36 grit. You can see it's pretty much where we need it now, so we won't be doing any more fiberglass filler on this here. Everything from here on out will be our lightweight filler, because it's just going to be a skim coat over this, basically to fill in any low spots, pinholes, pits, anything like that. So all this will basically get a complete skim coat right here of our feather fill, or our Z-grip lightweight filler. And then that'll be it as far as flushing out the panels go. Well, if you guys can see, everything is completely flush. If you look down, both sides all the way around, beautiful straight. Now we will go ahead and in our next video, this one's getting long, I'm gonna have to cut it off. But in our next video, if you guys want to follow along, hit that subscribe button and that bell so you can get the next video. But in the next one, we'll go over our door gaps and how we get 100% perfect door gaps. We like to shoot for an 1/8 inch, and just so it's all the way around perfect. And when you shut this thing, everything's flush, straight, and perfect. So I'll show you guys how that's done in the next one, though. If you guys are learning anything, smash that subscribe button, and we appreciate it. All right, I showed you guys how to get that show car straight, perfect flushness. From here, like I said, we'll go ahead and put a skim coat on the rest of it, and then we'll block all that out, or we'll file it all out with our file. So it's just laser straight. But if you guys are learning anything, please hit that subscribe button. We're almost to 1,000. We got a giveaway at 1,000, so make sure you guys are sharing it, and let's hurry up and get there. And also, thanks for watching, everybody.